All right. Well, I was like thinking I have a lot of thoughts and I needed to share them, and I was going to do it on my Reishi and Rose Instagram account just because that one it has like some of my friends following it that I trust to share these thoughts with. Um, and it's like a smaller subset of the population. So I was going to share there, but I couldn't find my phone. So then I said, okay, I'll do a quick YouTube live then. And now I feel weird because now I'm here and now I have to talk about how I feel about everything and how do I feel about everything. It's like I feel a bit all over the place. So last, gosh, no, it's been like a couple weeks now. So we're in it. We're in it. We're in year 5. And so we just had the anniversary and like so much happened. I think like Mercury was retrograde if we're looking at it from like a planetary understanding, and like it's just like all sorts of just like, like suns in Virgo, just had a new moon in Virgo. Like we have to like sort out like what's important here in our physical space. Like that's what Virgo is very attuned to, is what is benefiting the mental physical connection, that space, the way that your mind works, the way your physical space is looking, and how those two things can be connected. And so August 30th is, yes, Virgo in the August part. I don't know why. Sometimes it's just like it can be like so confusing. I mean, I think other people have the same kind of challenge with thinking that way. So yeah, August 30th, the anniversary. I'm okay, like how I had intended to spend the anniversary and how I spent the anniversary are literally two ends of a spectrum of love that is just so beautiful and hilarious. And I was just not surprised. And I'm grateful though. Like, I'm really grateful because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I saw so much and I really needed to see that. I really needed to kind of be like, okay, like, but what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? You've got all these spiritual like ideas and principles and practices, and like, how is that really playing out on this physical level? And it's like, are you doing this correctly? And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed to be like, oh, like I need to share publicly my thoughts. I don't know why, like something about that. I'm like, why does anybody care what I have to say? And still at the same time, I have friends coming to me, very clearly saying, hey, I appreciate you putting that thought or message out there. And right now I know like this is a tough subject, this sort of like Burning Man festival culture, climate, earth sort of thing. And I just want to kind of sort through my experience and like what happened for my personal self, and then how I feel like that relates to the world, and how I think it's important for me to move forward, and then how I feel like I want to have this conversation because like there's just so much, there's something really really large at play, and I think like a lot of times we're caught up in our own sort of reality and our own sort of stuff. And I'm going to try to have a lot of fun with this because I get a lot of messaging, and I realize that like play and joy and levity and lightness are really activating, and they are sustaining and life changing. And so I want to invite that into my own personal space and invite others to witness that with me. So Yeah, so basically, my intention for celebrating the 4-year anniversary of my partner passing, right? August 30th was this event. It was a full moon. So it's called a full moon jam. And there's like fire dancers, and it's like in the park near the beach. And like everybody goes. It's like all of the physical friends that I've met here in Chicago, like they know about it and like were intending to go. And I had decided also to like look into this like job opportunity that is more local to where I'm currently living in the city. And so I had an interview that day for this job, right? And so my intention originally was like, I'm going to go to the full moon jam, and then I'm probably gonna go. This was my intention. I was like, and then I'm probably gonna go to like one of these festivals because it's like ARC weekend. So like I might go see Ben Clark, or somebody was at Podlaja, and I was just like, or I might go there. And I had like this whole intention of spending the whole weekend like trying to treat Labor Day weekend in Chicago like I do or was able to during Memorial Day in Detroit. And trying to be like, okay, but like this is a celebration, this is exciting. So I had all of these like shows planned out, all of these events I was gonna go to, and then at the same time, like things are happening in my reality that like I had to be present and available for example, this job opportunity. And then also the imagery of seeing the climate protesters at the Burning Man Road and having a real sort of okay, like something's going on. There's a depth and like a deepness and something that and there's a conversation I need to be having and introduced to. So it's August 30th. I had this interview for this opportunity. I cried, like, I was very real. You know me, I'm always being like as authentic as I can be in any moment. And I invite others to, witness that and see that and have clarity that that is important, and learning how to notice your patterns, right? It's not just about being like, well, I'm being authentic, so like I'm popping off on people all the time. It's noticing, oh, okay, like I pop off on people when this series of out like personal circumstances is true, and how can I show up better for myself in each moment. And I really give a lot of gratitude to quitting drinking. And I think an important part of this conversation going into rave culture, festival culture, Burning Man, all of it is how like my personal journey with these substances and this party lifestyle really manifested, and like what I learned, and just other ways to maybe approach these topics and have this heaven is a place on earth reality, this new earth that we're bringing in, right? So I have this interview. I'm crying. I'm being real, and she's like, "Okay, great. Like, when are you free to do your second interview?" And she gave me like options, and the next day was an option in the morning, and I was like, "I'll do like tomorrow morning. That sounds great." And because then on Thursday I had like another event. Oh no, okay. Thursday was the Ben Clock day. So Wednesday was just full moon jam. Okay. All right. I don't know why that's important, but that is a detail too. Yeah. So anyway, so I have this interview. Then I plan to have a morning interview. And I do. And that goes well. And so I see though on Wednesday these climate protesters at Burning Man, and it just something resonated with me. I was like, oh, I was like, they're still doing that? Like they're still going out into the desert to burn up a bunch of wood and kerosene and resources, you know? I mean, plastic water bottles and White Claw cans, and you know what I mean? And I was like, interesting, because I kind of was like hearing what these people protesting were saying. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah. And now we're like a few weeks away from it. I've started to follow some conversations of some of yeah, we have been like we're at a point in the conversation where yeah, there's a lot of false programming and false languaging and wording and stories. And there's, you know, there's psyops, and then there's psyops for the psyops. I mean, it's like getting to be that meta. And I think, you know, this one of the climate protesters, I think the person who actually organized it, from my understanding, his name is Tommy, and I've shared some of his stuff on my personal Instagram, and you know, I encourage you to go listen to his podcast on Apple Music and or Apple Podcasts or whatever. And he said something today, and I was like, yes, I've been thinking this, like this has been on my mind. And he was like, look, like even if you're making $250,000 and that's like your paycheck, like, and you're still though going to work for that paycheck, you're working class. Like they have really done a number on being able to like separate us on all of these like little issues that I think like right now are just like there's all these like little hurts and things that they like are clearly there for us all to see. And though I think the people who, you know, are on the sort of like psychedelic sort of spectrum of it, because yes, like I too have like worked with psychedelic medicines, and I do personally in my own experience, they did open me up to things that I really needed to see. And at the same time, like I learned quick that they weren't the absolute answer. And I think that's something really important for me to say and to share. And if it resonates with you, great. And if it doesn't, if it's triggering, I invite you to just like look at why it's triggering before getting upset with me about why it's triggering. And then, you know, once you've looked at it a little bit and you've calmed down and you want to talk about why you think I'm wrong, then yeah, let's talk. Because I don't think like being like everybody must take psychedelic drugs now is the answer. So I just feel like I need to say that. Yeah. So I have this realization. I go down this conspiracy theory path. Like I just went down a conspiracy theory sort of tangent, and it was like it was honestly like being in, I think I'm physically in there. It was like being in there when Zach lived in the house in the alley with our buddy, and you know, it's like being there and being on those two couches, and he's on one, I'm on the other, and we're watching like the Zeitgeist movies, you know, and it's just like, wait a minute, like these connections between these people in power are really important for us to acknowledge. Okay, we don't have to say like there's some sort of conspiracy and like they're doing some sort of, you know, we don't have to say like, oh, like for sure, like that's what's happening. And it is very important to, I think, recognize the roots of something. Like, where did it start? What does it mean, right? Like, a lot of my community has begun looking at roots of language and words and where they come from and what they really mean, right? And a lot of people in my community don't want to be associated with nice. And I specifically feel like I am constantly kind of like, no, bitch, I ain't nice. I ain't nice, And I will pop off. That's like always something I pop off about because I'm like, I'm not no, like I am not naive. I am aware. I am kind. I have sweetness. And though I cannot be taken advantage of. And, you know, we can't be doing that, And I think that, that's just one example. I think smart is another one you can look into, and there's a lot of it. And so what ended up happening is I found like because I mean I was so deep, I had seen everything Burning Man related during that period. I've had to like really like be like, okay, like I have to mute these people now. It's like it's over. I've found the resources that are currently speaking to how I'm beginning to uncover other aspects of what's going on and moving forward and being in this part of the reality. And how does that look for me? I'm like, okay, well, because like here's the thing, I shared a few thoughts on my Instagram. I hid it kind of because I was just like, I don't know, like this has already been controversial amongst people that I consider some of my closest confidants and people who I have rapport with. Like the Burning Man thing honestly, like 3 of my closest friends have had reactions that were very much like, what are you talking about? For example, one friend was like, Burning Man is so important, and you can't, like, these climate protesters were in the wrong. And I'm like, okay, like, all right, like you're definitely like have that opinion, that's great. Like I don't want this to be a rift between us, because I'm like, that's what the owning class wants. That's what they want. They want working class people to be against each other. They want black people and white people who are working class to be against each other. They want the people who like have been mind effed by the CIA their whole lives to be against the people who like see that the CIA has been effing with the American people this whole time. Like I have like European friends and people like I'm starting to like live around people who like weren't born here in the United States and weren't indoctrinated in it, and they're like y'all, it doesn't have to be that way. Like we are here to like, let's do it, let's change it, like learn the map of the world, learn where Serbia is, learn where Slovakia is, learn where Algeria is and Zimbabwe. Like literally I've been like dumbfounded at the stuff I just like don't know, and I'm like, I should know that. Like, holy crap, I don't know that, and every time I'm like, okay, like yesterday I'm on the train and these like 2 Serbian dudes are like, oh, you're talking to this other girl, oh, you know where Serbia is? And, like she like says what she thinks. And I'm like, dang, I don't know. So I'm like immediately like looking like, okay, yeah, like, all right. And like, the Balkans with the Romania and like Macedonia is nearby, and like I can see it on the map a little bit better, and it's like, wow, I still couldn't tell you all of the countries around it. And I just am like, that's important. I think like taking away like cursive in schools is actually more indoctrination. Like they need to be able to read the Declaration of Independence. It was written in that cursive language. Oh, they don't want they want the kids on the TikToks. they want us like so separate from each other. And so I'm really scared to have this conversation because, okay, that's one friend that was like, what are you doing? And then I share something about Electric Forest. Another friend is like, no, what are you doing? Like, this is the truth about that. And I'm like, is it though? Like, oh no. I'm like, I don't know that I agree. And that's okay. Like, I just really like don't want to like alienate like the people like in my community because like I can't unsee what I've seen and like feeling what I feel and like the stuff that's come up and the reason I wanted to have a conversation on specifically my Reishi and Rose account is because that's where I started talking about like my experiences in terms of like my eyes, okay? And like my personal experience with that. You know, I saw like a crazy like TikToker, Instagrammer, influencer who was like trying to like get people to put essential oils near their eyes to like heal them, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like I don't want like I know I have like real things like to share and teach, and I just like I don't want to be like one of these snake oil salesmen, and at the same time like this is a real reality for me. Okay, so a thing that really came up, and I'm just gonna share it here because I'm like, no one's in here, like no one's watching this, no one knows who I am. Like this is for now like a safe space for me to just like have this conversation, share it, and give it to a few people who can handle what I'm saying. And maybe that's just me, and I'm grateful. But the thing that really like just ramped up the whole time is a memory that like for me has always messed with me, right? And it's like I don't know if other people have this experience where there is a moment in time where I'm trying to explain how it feels because it's like it's a blockage, right? I can explain it in my like human design, like it's in my spleen, right? And like if you're familiar with my human design, I'm open and there, I'm completely open. And then that is also the period from once you are birthed in up until around 7 when you start kind of opening up to the emotional center awareness as well as now this physical awareness is on. There's a moment I was in preschool, and my preschool, something was weird about it, you guys. Like something like I can't like I've like always felt like something was like off about that place, and I've always felt that way. I've never fully had the languaging or the experience, and I still don't. I still like am like this is a new conversation even for me, and this is like the crazy stuff, but this is so real for me, and I think it's really important that I explore it and that I explore it in a way where others can see what I'm saying and maybe also have like visceral reactions to their own experiences. I don't know. So basically, there's just like something weird, and it's like it's right there. I'm like, and I see it, and it's like, and it's my eyes, and it's all connected. And I'm in like the office. I'm like 3 years old, 4 years old. I had to be like 2 or 3 because I had had my eye surgery and I had the patch. Okay, you guys, like this is it. Like I have had eye surgery. I was like 2 years old. But it's unfortunate my mom doesn't like remember the specific like days and stuff, which in years and times, but it's fair because it's like, how do you remember all of that? There's a lot of information. So, I was about, I think 2, and I'm in preschool, and I had my little glasses, and like I had to wear an eye patch and over like the eye, I'm guessing I had the surgery on, and it was like, I would like have to put it on, and like I would always put like a little sticker on it, and it's like really cute, but also like what in the hell happened? because the story is I have an astigmatism. They like caught a lazy eye, and like this surgery was to help it or whatever. And yet, something is so weird because I have this memory of being in like the office. And I'm like, maybe it was just like, I can't think of the word. There was nothing weird about it. You know, maybe it's like, it was just, I just needed to go to the office that day or those days. Because part of me feels like it wasn't just like a one-time thing that I was in this space. And I just remember there being like, I remember this. I remember there being like an office with like a desk and two chairs. And then there was like a door over here. And I remember like during the day, like before, like while my mom was at work, like after she dropped me off, like during the day at some point, I would go in, but I would go in that back room. And it was dark back there. And I remember a bed, and I remember specifically one day them laying out all of these pictures and me like having to like choose one. And I remember that's one of those moments I remember like having like one thought and choosing another. That was like the first time I remember that happening. And the second time I remember that happening was in kindergarten when I had to choose tables. And I was torn between like the broccoli and the bread. And I think maybe I picked the bread, and I always regretted not picking the broccoli because I love broccoli. And okay. So I remember, yeah, I would remember like going in that room and it being dark and it being like kind of like, yeah, just like gray and kind of spooky in a sense, you know, because I mean, I was in preschool. And then I remember at the end of the day being in the door being closed, and then being in the bright office, like with my mom, being checked out of preschool, and like getting like a sticker, you know, or something, because like that's what they always like give you, were like stickers and like candy to like make you think like the doctor wasn't a terrible place, or like I guess like my effing child care program in Columbus, Ohio, like, you know, like they would like give, you know, yeah, well, you went in that back room, but like don't tell your mommy, you know, she won't believe you. You tell her the weird things we were doing with you back, you know what I mean? Like that's the energy I'm getting right now. Like I mean, I'm remembering it. Like I remember that room, like that is like very clear. And I would go back in there, and I, you know, I don't know, like I'm not 100% sure. Okay, the only things that like started resonating with that experience, right, were then like when I got into the secret space program, and I'm like, oh my God, like these people are talking about something that is familiar to my child self who hasn't been able to express this, and like needs to clearly express it. So I also have to say that at one point, like some old man picking up his kid, I'm like, who are you? Because like, was he there in that room doing nasty shit to me or fucked up things to me? Because like that's what I have to question now. I'm like, why was I in some dark room as a fucking 2-year-old, 3-year-old at my preschool with the man who was part of the army? I know y'all are listening, so it's hurtful. What the hell? Like, come on. Like, it does not have to be this way. And you know it in your heart. I don't know, like, how disconnected you are from your heart. But we do not need to be running programs on each other. Mind control and hurting each other. No. No. I'm bringing Jesus in. I'm on a Christ path, and I'm grateful, and I'm with it with Muhammad. I'm with it. Like, I'm grateful for those beings being open to guide me and heal me for real. You know what I mean? Not just like this like sugar coated like Instagram, social media, Burning Man. We went to Bali and Tulum, and we colonized more. And no, we're done with that. We're here in this moment. We're present with like who we are and the messed up stuff that is happening to people, right? Because if it happened to me, whatever weird, I'm having such an icky feeling because like that's all I can really talk about. I feel like right now I'm like, I don't know how much deeper I can really go into that conversation. I think this is like genuinely something where I'm like, okay, like give it up to God, like Lutz, Cam, like I know we like didn't see eye to eye on some of this, but I think this is where our conversation is more than is Burning Man important? Are like, do we need to go to Burning Man in order to live these principles? Like, that's my question. Like, do we need to keep like going to, it rains at Electric Forest every year. So like, why was this year like somehow like different in terms of like leaving trash and like camping stuff, and like why is it appropriate to leave our camping stuff because it rained? These are just like questions I'm having about that. And then it's like, well, what am I doing? So here's what I'm doing. So this is like really embarrassing, but I'm ready to embarrass myself because here's the thing, like 650 some days alcohol free. Woo! I'm fucking hyped about that. Like, that is big. Like, that's so good, you guys. I'm so proud and I'm so grateful because it just wasn't serving me. It isn't serving. Isn't gonna be of service to me and like what's really important here, and so quitting that has been a blessing, and and it's really shown me like, hey, that's not the only thing in your life that is kind of getting in the way of your mission and your purpose and being on the path of God, being on your path, being on your most authentic self, being you, like figuring out what happened to you when you were 3 years old in that weird room with the man from the army. I figured that out because of the freaking Burning Man conspiracy theory guy and like him putting it all together and me and I was there and I felt it on the playa. You guys, I was there. I was on the playa, like I was there. And it was so weird. Like, it was so weird because, like, I've never been to Burning Man, right? Like, I've never been to Burning, but, like, I know what's happening. Like, I was like, I'm there. Like, I see it. Like, I was there. I don't even know how else to explain it to you all. Oh my gosh, it's nuts, but it's good. It's good. I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to tell people. I'm going to, like, let people see it. I folded this other one so weird. I was like, I'm folding my laundry, and I'm like, that was not how I fold these. Anyway, and I was there. I was on the playa, and I was seeing it. And I was in that room with the man in the army, and then like, it was so weird. But anyway, I'm ready to embarrass myself with all the other things that I do, right? So like, I know, like, I share like occasionally, like, yeah, like I started watching like porn when I was like 10, like actual porn. I watched Disney though. From again, I was probably Beauty and the Beast was the first movie I saw in theaters. So do with that what you will. Um, you know, my mom was watching like a soap opera when she went into And she went when I was born. So, do with that what you will. It's always a fun little tidbit. Um, I don't know what I was saying. I was there. I was at Burning Man, but I wasn't at Burning Man. But I was in that office with that weird man and those weird people. And I was always an outcast from the other kids who weren't being called into the office to go into that weird room. Like I had a few friends that played chess with me. I remember playing like, or maybe it was checkers. I don't remember. Um, I feel like I'm on a tangent now. This is important. I don't 100% know that I made any sort of sense or any sort of point. I'm hoping that this is something I can share with others in order to open up at least a conversation because I definitely, like I said, like I don't want this to like put like a rift, like, this Burning Man's not your business, Mary, and it's like, I don't know though. I think like it is on a level, obviously, not the end all be all. I really want to like unite workers. I want to unite humans. I want to unite people, and I think the only way I can really do that is to start putting myself in this like uncomfortable space of getting online and like talking at the camera because like other people do it and they do it with like such confidence, like, oh my god, my message is so important, like you guys cannot miss it, and I'm out here just like, how do I like make sure I do it in such a way that like everybody misses it? And I don't know, I think maybe I need to stop hiding that. Yeah, so that's all I have for this moment. Hopefully there will be another moment. Until then, thank you.